How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Z Roll Podcast. It is episode 14. We're your hosts, Justin and Lacey Zachman, where we explore life's adventures together.
Okay, you guys, this may be one of our most commented topics of podcasts yet. We asked you guys to help us out with this one, and we have
so many
comments and good stories today. But let's back up a bit. Today we are talking about vacations gone wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like one of our favorite things to talk about, but it's like a spin because it's like,
is it always good?
But I think now talking about this stuff, it's kind of like some of it's funny, some of it's still kind of like, ugh. But it's time to talk about it.
Yeah. We were like kind of reminiscing on the stories we're going to share with you guys today. And some of them were like, oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah. It's so bad. But I think we're at the stage we can laugh about most of these. Don't you think?
I say most.
Okay.
But anyway.
There's still a little like cringe.
Yeah. But like Lacey said, it was like our most like commented. But what we do is we actually ask you guys over on our Instagram at our Z Roll, OURZROLL. To be part of the conversation, and you guys definitely delivered on this one.
You did.
For sure, and it's been awesome just reading your comments because there's some crazy ones out there.
Yes, for sure.
Also, if you're watching, we actually do this, on YouTube as well, our YouTube channel. And there's some flies that are in here that we cannot get rid of.
Fly season, boys and girls.
But I mean, I feel like these flies in our studio have been here for the last 2 months.
They will never die.
And they're not dying. They're just
thriving.
They're part of us.
Here.
I think we're going to name them at this point. But if you're listening to this podcast, thank you so much. We'd actually appreciate if you gave us a review, especially on Apple. If you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, give us a review. We'd appreciate that. And if you're watching, what is up?
What is up? You get to see Justin and I's matching sliders today. We're rocking the socks and slides. I feel like we did that today.
Last time too.
Did we?
I don't know.
I think I was barefoot last time. I don't know.
That's just what it is.
So
these are my travel sliders.
They are mine as well. I wear these every time I fly.
They've seen the world.
They've gone all around.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Any hoozles. Okay, so we're thinking we're gonna kind of just start off with our stories. Share with you guys the ones we've decided to, and then we will get to all of yours.
So which one do you want to start with? Maybe should we go with the most aggressive one, and then go into funnier ones, or do we just go right?
There's a pretty intense one that some of you guys might not know about.
Yeah.
If you watch our YouTube channel, you may have known about one of them a
couple of them
4 years ago, but yeah, actually a couple of them. But anyways, this topic came about because if you watch any of our stuff, we love to travel. We've done tips for you guys on how to save for travel and vacations. So there are times though where trips they don't go the way you plan, do they?
Yeah, no.
Bad things happen. Life happens even in Disneyland, even on vacation, even on Disney cruises. So,
believe it or not, things go wrong on vacation.
Wow.
I know that's crazy.
Isn't it?
I know you
wish you were just in this little bubble of protection.
We spend all this money. There shouldn't be anything.
No.
You shouldn't get sick. You shouldn't go to the ER. You shouldn't get stuck into a different country. These things have happened to us. But this video or podcast was inspired by our friends.
Oh, yes.
Lauren, Allie, Benny, Bailey.
We love you guys.
Jean. Yeah. They were telling us some stories over at, what was it, Easter?
Yeah.
Just their struggles on vacation. And so we're kind of talking about some other podcast ideas. This inspired us to talk about this.
Yes.
And obviously, you guys want to talk about it because you sent us so many comments.
Right.
Okay. Are we going to talk about this?
Let's do it.
Okay. So let's talk about the pink eye incident.
Okay.
This one wasn't actually directly about us, but it was our
family member.
Yes. We went to Disneyland, and it was so my brother-in-law, Michael, he's never been to Disneyland, maybe his first time, or maybe when he was really young.
Maybe it was something like that.
He doesn't go very often, and so this is kind of like his first time for sure as an adult. And so Lacey and I, we're all about Disney, so we're hyping it up and getting excited about it and all this kind of stuff.
First time we've ever done Disneyland with like since I've been married into your family and with grandkids. We had Landon, and they just had a baby, so we had a lot of planning into this trip.
Right.
Just to preface that. But anyways.
So
go ahead.
So it was, I don't know, like day one,
Yeah.
We get to the park and, he wakes up from our hotel. And granted, we didn't stay in the nicest hotel. We were just trying to get there cheap and do our thing. And we'll never recommend this hotel. We're not even going to talk about this hotel because this hotel is blacklisted for a month.
We think this is where he got the pink eye.
I don't know. Whatever. But this is the thing. He comes into the park and we're taking our family photo, the classic photo, like in front of the, the train and all that kind of stuff. And he's like squinting. He's like, man, my eye really hurts and stuff. Hurting. And he figured out pretty fast that he had pink eye. Yeah. And so he's like, I gotta go to the doctor. So he spent all day trying to find, I think it was like all day or something. I can't remember, but he had to find a doctor's
place
office
that was open by the time you went there.
And we're all in the park having a good time in Port. Michael has to Uber somewhere to find a place that's open to get some medicine to clear this up. But before that even happened, we're just like, oh, maybe it's not pink eye. Let's just continue going through the day.
Right.
And I think like that's where it was funny because there was times when he thought it would feel better. Yeah. Because it was like after rides.
Well, because we went on the Incredicoaster at DCA. And he was like, wow, my eyes feel so much better because like the wind, just like blowing in his eyeball. So and like drying it out.
So you get off a ride and be like, man, my eye feels so good. It's fine. We're good. We're good. And a little bit later it burn again, but it's because of the wind from the coaster. Anyway, I feel so bad because now we talk about that trip as the pink eye trip.
The pink eye trip.
Luckily
it did not spread to anybody else. But I know our nephew ended up getting like really sick after that one. I think Landon did too. And then we all blamed the hotel. We're like, that was the worst.
But it was
a motel
because he recently has gone back to Disney and had a great time.
We did.
But it was just like so funny because the whole time his eye was bothering him and he finally went to the doctor. And then by that time it didn't clear up until we left because we're there for like 3 days or something like that. So
and then I think he had to wear, because he wears glasses later because he can do contacts because of his pink eye. So all the pictures, we squinting. Just like love it because we always look at it and he's like squinting. I'm like, the poor guy, his eyes are so red.
So those are the memories that it was a bummer. Like, because he wasn't with us most of the trip. Yeah. But looking back on it, it is like that trip will always remember that trip because of that. And so that's what's fun sometimes with things that go wrong. Yeah. Is you can it's very memorable.
It's one of the stories we always bring up with Justin's family at holidays, just like we need to redeem, which we did when we went again, the pink eye Disneyland trip.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, so there's that one. A couple other ones that we have. I got stuck in Israel for a week. During the whole COVID and all that kind of stuff, and I got a positive test, and I was I couldn't go back with our team, and I was there for another week, and just stuck in Israel. So that was crazy. I was so ready to go home. Yeah, so ready to go home.
I was
we were actually planning a trip to go to Disneyland just a couple weeks after that. Do you remember that? And so I was trying to get back. I was hoping to get back to be able to go on that Disney trip because I was scared we weren't going to be able to do that.
Oh yeah.
And I was just looking at pictures earlier today about Israel, and then like right next to my camera roll is Disney trip. So I made it back just in time. But I
was pregnant with Juniper too. And it was like he was gone already scheduled for quite some time. So adding another. What was it? Almost 2 weeks.
It was almost 2 weeks.
Gone.
I think it was. I forget how rough. Maybe it was like 12 days plus another like 5 or 6. Yeah. But we were all. I was like, because it was because the time difference is Lacey thought by the time I text her, when she wakes up, I would already have been like, in the States or something like that, and so I had to wait. So when I found out that I had COVID and I couldn't leave until I get a negative test or whatever, I had to wait. 8 hours until Lacey woke up and be like, hey, by the way,
I'm not coming home.
The team's on their way home, but I'm not. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like I thought you were already at the airport.
Yeah, that was a pain.
That was.
I mean, there's a whole storyline in there. Like I don't want. There's so much that went down in that week.
That would take up our whole.
Maybe we'll talk about it
on our podcast.
We have a video. We'll link the video of like me stuck in Israel.
Yeah.
But anyway. That happened.
Was an adventure.
That was several years ago.
Right.
What else? There were some other things that happened, cancellations and stuff. The big one though, I think, is on our Disney cruise.
Yes.
And some of you OGs out there
you might know
this story because it was kind of our first. It was actually the first Disney cruise that we vlogged.
Mm-hmm.
First one we ever actually vlogged.
Yeah. And honestly, let's see. So this story we're going to share was on the Disney Wonder. And I really, because we went on that cruise ship again, I had the hardest time going back on that ship. And I honestly didn't think I was ever going to get back on it because of what happened.
Yeah.
So,
oh yeah, I remember that there was a period of time where Lacey didn't want to cruise.
No,
anymore.
I was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
It was very traumatic.
That almost stopped our Disney cruise, life.
And look at us. We're like putting out Disney cruise content all the time.
That's what we do. We love it.
Anyways, do you guys want to know what happened? So we went with some of our family, and the last night of our cruise, it was a very rough night at sea. Bad
storms.
Yes. The ship was rocking.
I've never been on a Disney cruise with a storm this bad.
Yeah.
Like it was it was scary. The ship was rocking like crazy. Even our waiter was just like, man, this is crazy. Like
it was bad.
They had to hold on to the tables that time. It was just one of those nights.
Right. And so we're going back to our stateroom. Honestly, I think literally just going to bed.
No, yeah, we were done. We took our pictures. Landon had like this really cool like Darth Vader pajamas, and we took a picture with Darth Vader. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of what we wanted to do with that. And then we were headed back.
No, it was Captain Hook.
Oh, was it?
It was.
Okay. Anyway.
Yeah.
But
because it was like the see you real soon.
Oh,
that was like Darth Vader doesn't come to that.
So we're at the see you. That's
Hook.
where we were. We were there, and we were we got a picture of Captain. I think we talked about this actually in one of our videos. How like I love seeing Captain Hook.
Yeah.
Wasn't this the last video we just talked?
I think so.
Anyway, that's funny. But anyway, that's another story.
Okay.
But we went back to our stateroom and we opened up our stateroom. And again, when you close the stateroom door, it doesn't like just slam. It kind of like slowly. I mean, stateroom doors are sketchy as it is.
They're heavy.
But this one slammed because of the waves.
Yeah.
And the boat was rocking. And so Landon put his finger inside the crack of the door.
And not the door where
the hinge is at.
Yeah, where the hinge is at. The little spot. He put his finger in there.
And this might be graphic. Okay, so if you have you might want to, if you're eating something or whatever, just warn you. But anyway, he had his finger in there. And normally, stateroom door, if it shut, it would have just pinched it. He would have got it out. But because of the waves, it slammed
so hard and so fast
and cut off his finger.
It took off his tip of his finger.
Cut off the tip of his finger.
Yeah.
Like, and we're talking about, I don't know, half an inch of his finger, like a good amount of his finger.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, it was traumatizing. So basically, there was blood everywhere.
All over the hallway, all over our door. We're like, what do we do? We're on a ship in the middle of nowhere.
So I grab his finger. Okay, I grab his finger and I'm running to find where the doctor. And this is why, like, nowadays we know where the doctor's office is. We always find out where it's at because of this. Like, because we didn't know, and we're like trying to figure this out. Yeah. I'm running everywhere with Landon with his finger, holding him, and we like wrapped up his hand, whatever. And we're finding it. We're pounding on the doctor's door. He's asleep. Another thing is when you with the Disney cruises, you have all the bags.
I was about to say the luggage is out. Yeah,
out right. And so like it was so hot. All the luggage was down where the doctor's office was and stuff. And so everything was just we're about to like the cruise was done. And the doctor was he was asleep. So there was this crewman who's like, I'm sorry, it's close. And I looked at the crewman and I was just like, my son chopped off his finger and I have it in my hand and he's like, oh my goodness, pale. And so he calls reinforcements, whatever. The doctor comes in his pajamas really, and comes down there and he does what he can to stop the bleeding, all that kind of stuff.
He gave him some just like Tylenol, something they had to give to kids for the pain. But Landon's bone was exposed, so it was at risk for infection. So he said, as soon as the ship docks, you guys need to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
And so we did not sleep at all that night because that was the worst
night of sleep
I
have ever had, because we were just traumatized.
Yeah, and we're just checking him like all night long,
checking
sure
him,
he was okay.
replaying what happened.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And so we got to port, and I was like, trying to get us off, because if you've gone on a Disney cruise, it's like, oh, if you're Donald, you get off with this time. We're like, we need to get off now. And I couldn't like find the right person to talk to let us off. Yeah. Then finally I was like,
it was kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Like the fact of the matter is they knew what happened the night before. And so we were expecting to get this like, in a way, VIP treatment off the ship with our son's bone being exposed and the doctor saying, you need to get out of here immediately. Nothing was communicated.
No.
Okay, this is the thing. When this all happened, we could have made a huge deal about it on YouTube. Like we could have talked all about it. But we decided not to. We decided not to, share too much about it, because, I think a lot of people use this kind of stuff to try to promote their channel and their stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So we were really careful what we said, and so I think we're talking more about it than we originally did.
Oh, absolutely. This is the most we've ever shared.
But anyway, it's just we just couldn't talk about it either. It was just we didn't want to talk about it. We had to share some things because we didn't upload for a long time and people didn't know why, and it was anyway.
Well, and we couldn't even close out our vlog because it was everything that happened, so we had to share what actually went down, because we didn't end up flying out that day.
That was one of the hardest videos to edit, by the way.
Yeah.
Because knowing what was to come that night.
Right.
Anyway, so they finally
got us
off the ship.
Got us a taxi.
In good fashion, really fast. We were in front of the line, but we had to talk, ask people to get off, but they
got our luggage for us.
But it was crazy because the doors on the ship, the one that crushed Landon's finger, they fixed. There was some issues with it. There was some stuff. It was a rocky boat. It's just what happens.
Right.
It was crazy. It really was a crazy thing. And we were in an emergency room for several days after, we were in an emergency room for, I would say, almost a whole day before they can have surgery on him.
Well, we ended up, they took us to a hospital where they teach people I don't know the correct term of that, because every room we went into, there were students and they were learning how to do things.
It was so bad.
So it was an extremely long process, but that's just where they took us. They we didn't know where to go. Where were we? Texas, Galveston. So it was very interesting, a very long process before we even got him into surgery. So it was very, very stressful.
It was frustrating and stressful. Yeah. Finally, we had a very good doctor.
The surgeon was awesome.
I got him all squared away.
Yeah.
Landon, if you look at his hand closely, he has we call him his special fin, like Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
His special finger.
His special finger.
It's a little bit shorter, but they made sure.
Skin graft.
They did skin graft, and they made sure that it would continue growing with the rest of his fingers and stuff, and it has and stuff, but there is a little bit of a chip off of it.
Yeah, his nail will never look the same in the way it grows.
Oh my goodness. So that was crazy.
That was the one trip where I think me and you were like, well, you know what I mean? Yeah. We just very flexible, because after that we're like, well, nobody lost a finger, we can laugh about it now. Then it was not funny, but it was one of the worst endings.
I don't think we've ever laughed about that.
No, what I mean is when things go bad later in our trips, we're like, at least our kid didn't lose a finger.
But we have a huge thing now with doors being closed, windows, sliding glass doors,
and the boys
any
know
of that kind of stuff. They know that we overly freak out, and they know why we freak out.
Well, even we've cruised several times since then, and anytime either the boys shut the door, they're like, oh, let mom and dad shut it, or they don't even want to go near it, because we probably scared them so bad.
If you guys randomly see us in a Disney cruise, getting into our stateroom, you're going to see this whole thing of
a whole process.
All hands in pocket. happens.
Nobody
behind mom, dad opens the door. They all go. It's like a whole process
it is.
now.
It's a thing. And
some of you guys are probably seeing this in there in the hallways, and you're like, well, these guys are weird trying to open the door, but it's like
a deal.
Yeah, we will probably never go back to Galveston though.
No,
I don't think we'll ever use that port ever again.
We did not like it.
I mean, yeah, it was just too many bad memories there. So I think like that we obviously have cruised several times since then.
Yeah.
We've had things set up and all that, and more, with the door situation, but I don't think we'll ever go back to Galveston.
Yeah. So we ended up not flying home. We stayed in the hotel with Landon, let him recover.
Yeah. All of our family went home.
Had to find a new flight.
Oh my gosh, that was crazy. It was. And then I remember staying in a random hotel that night, and it was a sweet moment after that. Landon's all bandaged up, and we ordered some pizza. We made the best of it, and it was a cool moment.
And
at the end.
his little Curious George he had with him the whole time.
Oh yeah, fun fact. That. He still travels with his Curious George because of that incident. He kept him through the whole.
We took him in the hospital. He flew home with him. It's just like it was his pal, and so whenever he travels, he brings him.
Yeah,
so cute.
Oh man. I think there's some other ones. That one was the heavier one.
That was
but I remember there's
heavy one.
Let's end on like another note.
Something we can. Both of us, I felt like started getting gloss-eyed during that story, and we're like, oh no, like reliving it. Yeah. I was watching you too. It's not a fun thing to talk about. If you guys have had to see your kids get hurt, we feel for you. It is the worst thing because as parents, you feel absolutely, this is a whole nother topic, but just responsible. Like, this is my fault.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't, and we're rethinking everything. It's one of those things. It's an accident, but it was horrible.
It was horrible.
It was horrible.
We've had things where, like both boys had like double ear infections and stuff
on a flight on the way home,
or even we've had one on the cruise before.
Okay, so this one was not like the most horrible thing in the world, but it was just one of those stories that were just I don't know, it just went crazy. But anyways, let me just share it. So we went to on a Disney cruise for our honeymoon. Surprise, surprise. That's where the love started.
Surprise,
and we stayed at...
We shared this before, I think.
Did we?
I don't know.
Well, maybe somebody hasn't heard it. We stayed at the Hyatt Hotel, which is in the Orlando airport. And we were inside the airport because of the time change and jet lag of just arriving to Florida and getting up so early. We were really tired and we just crashed.
And we were newly married. Like we left like 2 days after our wedding, and we were just kind of like just two kids hanging out, and so it was our first time traveling together, all that kind of stuff,
figuring everything out.
Yeah.
But anyways, our room, like there's no windows outside. Our window you could see outside to the airport, and that was it. But like not outside. So anyways, I think we ate dinner, we crashed, and we're just exhausted, and we fell asleep. I think we were just like watching a movie, and we may not even meant to fall asleep, but we both did.
It's only a 2-hour change for us, but because of the wedding happening a couple days earlier,
we were just exhausted.
Done.
Yeah. So anyways, we fall asleep, and both of us, wake up. Who woke up first?
And it's like 9 p.m. It's like
10 or 10 p.m. Right.
Yeah. But we thought it was 9 or 10 a.m.
And we both woke up like in a panic.
Because we're supposed to be like
getting on a bus to get to our cruise, and we had a certain time, and we had to set out our luggage and all this stuff. And so because I think we were supposed to have our luggage out at 8 a.m.
Something like that.
So anyways, we are like freaking out. I'm like throwing things in my suitcase and packing up and trying to get ready. And like we were so panicked. Yeah. And I think because like you said too, it was our first time traveling together, and we were like, we don't want to miss the ship. We're so scared, like these little kids. And so we're like getting our suitcase, and we're like running out of the room, and we start looking, and I think there's
the reason why we wanted to go down there to talk to them about our luggage, because we thought we missed the cutoff
to get it,
and then also figure out where the bus is.
Right.
And so we get down there. We're not even really paying attention to like we're inside an airport, and so we're just like I think if we would have looked up, we would have saw that it was dark. But we just in our minds, like, we're inside an airport, it's dark, I think we got there when the sun was already down anyway.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I don't know. I don't know why, because now if you go to the Orlando airport, you look up and you can see light.
Right.
But for whatever reason, I think it was dark, and then whatever. So we go downstairs, we're like, oh my gosh, we missed it. What do we do with our luggage? And they're like, It's
it
10.
takes off in the morning.
It's 10
p.m.
I think it was more 11 is what it was.
Maybe it was later.
Anyway, but they're like, it's p.m. It's tomorrow morning. And we're like, oh my gosh.
I'm like thinking, why didn't we look at our phones? Like, did our time not look? I don't know.
I think we probably did, but when we saw 10 or 11, we thought we had a good night's sleep. I think we fell asleep so early. You know when you fall asleep early and you wake up and you're like, oh man, like it's already morning? That's how it was. I don't know. We have a complete different way of like of time management nowadays. Like we have an internal clock nowadays, but I think when we were young and dumb, we had no internal clock.
Yeah.
Like it was just like, oh, I don't know.
Well, it's just funny that neither of us like
I don't know
helped each other out. We were both sold that this is going on. So anyways.
So when we went, I think we talked about it in our last vlog when we went back to Orlando because that's the last time. That's the first time we've been there since our honeymoon.
Yeah.
And we were just reminiscing around the airport. And we're like, how did we do this? Because
I don't know.
when it's light, when
right. Because they have like the skylights right there.
I think we might have got there when the sun was already down or close to B. And I think it was around 11 when we woke up.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we were like, well, what do we do now? Our hearts were like racing and it took us forever to like calm down to actually go back to bed and go to sleep for the actual night because we thought we already did.
That was nuts. Anyway.
Crazy kids we were.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was a fun one.
Okay, let's end on the Landon one because I think it's hilarious.
Okay.
And we talk about
and then we'll do you guys.
We talk about this to Landon all the time. And I don't want to embarrass the guy, but it's not. It's funny now for all of us. But we were in Walt Disney World and we were all in line for Buzz Lightyear. Yeah. And at that time, that was like their hero was Buzz Lightyear.
Toy Story.
And so Landon didn't like he had a problem with telling us when he needed to go to the bathroom. And he's completely potty trained, but he just wanted to see Buzz so bad.
Right.
And he just looks at us. He's like, "Oh no!" and we're like, "What?" And he's like, I need to go to the bathroom. And we knew that.
We're in the middle of the line.
Well, we already knew it already happened the way he said it. And so Lacey took him and he exploded his pants. And Lacey's cleaning him up in the bathroom, whatever.
Oh no!
And we had a spare extra. This is why we talk about in our tips to bring spare
change of clothes
because he was way potty trained. I'm like, how old was he? Like 6, 5,
4 or 5,
4 or 5.
Because I brought Tucker a spare change of clothes and underwear because Tucker was like 2 or 3. So he wore Tucker's outfit.
Yeah, he wore Tucker's outfit.
Luckily, it fit him.
So this is why we actually still bring change of clothes. No, not really for Landon anymore. No, but we did for a while.
Yeah.
Because of that, but
I know.
Oh man,
the poor guy.
So
but
whenever we go back to Walt Disney World or Disneyland, any Buzz Lightyear, we're like, Landon, remember when you pooped your pants in line? Or we always say that actually when we're like, hey everyone, it's time to go to the bathroom. We do like a potty break, just like throughout the park. And Landon's like, I don't need to go. And I'm like, hey, remember when you pooped your pants? You should go. And he's like, dang it, Dad.
Dang it, Dad.
Anyway, all right. Well, hopefully we explain those stories okay. It's kind of weird. When it's like something's in your mind and you haven't talked about it for a while, but you bring it up. Hopefully we explain those stories.
Right.
Anyway, those are some of our travel stuff we should probably get going on your guys's because there's a lot of them too. We're definitely not going to be able to get through all of them, but thank you again for sharing these.
Yes.
Where do you want to start?
I will start. I'm on Instagram. I know there's a lot on YouTube as well.
All right, I'll go to YouTube.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, I think this is Onti Verosum. Lost a backpack that had our kids' Christmas presents in it.
Oh, no.
That's horrible. No. Oh, my goodness. That, especially when it's like kids. It's like one thing. It's like, well, I got,
Well, there's two things. One thing, you lose stuff.
Yeah.
Especially when there's valuables or whatever. Number 2 is, when it's your kids' Christmas
presents.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
So Kevin Booton 1675 said, "Oh man, I can't say it went wrong, but when leaving Egypt, I left the family's passports in duty free. We managed to track them down, so managed to get home, but my wife won't let me live it down." Oh my gosh, those are the most. They're so stressful though when that stuff happens. Leaving
passports,
because you don't like. Oh my gosh,
that always scares me.
Yes, but like that reminds me of a story of when I was taking a trip to Romania with a team, and one of the younger team members, he left his passport in the plane.
Oh my gosh.
And they wouldn't let him back in there to get it, and we had to we managed to finally get in there and find it and stuff, but he completely lost it, and oh my gosh, it was just stressful because like, dude, we are
So
stuck
stressful.
in Amsterdam right now if you don't have your passport.
Right. And then where's that plane going? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Jeez. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. I remember another time when a student, it's always students, like it was when boarding passes were a thing. We didn't have them on our phones. They lost their boarding pass.
Right.
And we were like, we're about to board and we had to go and get a new ticket, and it just took forever. And it was just like, we thought we were going to miss the flight. That kind of stuff freaks me out, especially when it's like you're in the airport, you're trying to get to point A to point B, and something goes wrong. You forget an ID, a passport, anything like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that stuff.
Which happened with our friends that inspired this. They had a lot of those.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally.
Okay, so there's actually quite a few like cruise ones. So here we go. So Ashley, 1989, major wisdom tooth infection, second night on the Disney Wish.
No.
Brutal.
No.
I am so sorry, Ashley. Wisdom. What do you do about that? It's not like they have a dentist on board to help you, right? I mean, how painful.
Probably just medicate.
I know.
Pain. I don't know. Who knows?
Oh my goodness.
That's horrible. That's the kind of stuff that just like, that's the worst.
That is just horrible. And, you know, it's like, it's not like you could really do anything to help prevent that, you know, because we always try to do like, you know, a lot of vitamins and, you know, eat healthy to stay healthy. But with your teeth, wisdom tooth.
Well, I'm even thinking like passport situations. Like we take pictures of our passports. We leave pictures at home for friends and family. We do the extra mile kind of stuff. Those things. So that way, if something like that happens, we're like, we have backups.
Right.
But with a wisdom teeth infection, there's nothing like, you know, it's like you can't plan for it happens. And
then you want to be like eating all the good food.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, here's another cruise one. AK Vandy 85 got sick on our first Disney cruise and is quarantined to the room, missing Castaway.
Are you serious?
I am so sorry, you guys.
Oh no, it's so
just
bad.
Sitting in your room, like waiting for everybody to get back on this.
Just looking out your porthole, just like. Oh man! Like, what did you do? Just go on like the camera on what is it called? The ship camera.
Oh yeah,
what is it called?
Do they have a name for it? Where you can just see outside of
anyway,
TV?
You're just like watching.
Oh my goodness!
Oh no, that's horrible.
That's awful.
Okay, Ali Mark 586 said, we had a dream trip, 3-week honeymoon to China and Japan, and planned for March 2020. Literally everything in the world was starting to go wrong at that point. We rearranged everything about 4 times, switched our trip to Australia and New Zealand, made it out of the country in time for New Zealand to close its borders, and U.S. issued a statement that all citizens needed to get home ASAP. It wasn't until we got home that we realized how bad COVID was going to get. Don't worry, we did replan Australia and New Zealand for November 2022. I found out I was pregnant the night before we left.
Oh my goodness. That is awful.
That is so bad.
Triple whammy, double whammy.
Oh my gosh.
Dang, oh my goodness, so much.
There was so many like you know, during 2020 stuff. Like we had a cruise that we had to you know, rebook a couple times.
Several times. Yep.
It seemed like several times. Oh my goodness.
Also, Jordy said the monsoon we sailed through on the Magic. Oh my gosh. We were on there with
Jordy. We were
Jordy.
on the same ship.
Never thought I'd be on a ship that had a fire and flooding simultaneously. There was a fire on the ship too? I didn't know that.
No, so I think we talked about it in our Disney cruise vlogs. We'll link them. I don't remember if we talked about the fire, but
it was the flooding.
It was full on flooding the ship. Like
we would
flooding.
walk through floors
and
we
ate breakfast at Paulo. We came out and we would see water coming down the elevators.
Yeah.
Also, people's rooms were flooding.
Yep. And it smelled bad. They had fans going everywhere.
That was insane. That was crazy. Weren't we the last people to cruise that ship before it dry docked?
I think so.
And we're all just like, this thing needs a dry dock now.
Where was the fire?
I can't remember where the fire was
Jordy,
at.
Where was
Yeah, let us know where the fire was at.
About that.
Because I can't remember. Shelly Callan 5093. Oh my goodness. Upon disembarking a recent cruise with my mom, we drove separate and was already an hour into her drive home. She discovered she took someone else's luggage at the port. No. Those are the worst when you drive already an hour. The luggage she took looked identical to hers, and that was good enough for her, I guess. Luckily, my husband and I were nearby the cruise port terminal finishing breakfast when I got the call from my mom. I had to get Carnival to locate her bag, which thankfully was still there at the luggage pickup, and orchestrate with the other person to arrange a swap. It was a mess. Moral of the story, check to make sure the bag you are taking is yours. Don't assume or just get really unique bags. Okay, oh my gosh.
That's why I have my Minnie Mouse, the polka dots.
Yeah, honestly,
if I ever
I've
get
never
just a
seen
plain
anyone
one,
have that one.
I know. But
it's
seriously,
so big.
After cruises, when you go in those areas to get your luggage, it's just a sea of suitcases. I could totally see how that could happen.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So like,
that's
oh my gosh.
Horrible.
Yeah. Moral of the story is just check. You just never know. Even if you have a unique bag, just check still.
Yeah.
But
put something on there that most people don't have.
I love I'm going to talk about my bag because we've tested this. My bag is usually the first of 5, maybe first of 10 in the top 10 that come.
Your North Face.
Yeah, that come down on the belt. Because it's like half hard and half duffel.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone who used to work in the airlines and she was saying that it's usually because they put those on top, those kind of like duffel styles on top because they want to stack the hard on the bottom.
Oh.
And so it's the first that comes in. And so I usually have my bag before anyone, just waiting, trolling my thumbs. And so it's nice because it's not a whole sea of bags you're going through.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, crazy.
Okay, Cramo789. My husband almost didn't make it to our destination wedding. My then fiance was on the way to the airport with his family when they got a flat tire on the freeway.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think I stressed out too much over the whole wedding planning process, but at that point I almost lost it. 10 years later, we still laughed about it. That's awful. I would have been like, oh my gosh. Run to the airport. Get out of the car. Get here. We are not missing our destination wedding. That is so funny. Oh, man. I'm sure it was, not funny at the time, but yeah, it's good you can laugh about it now. Reading that reminds me of like a movie, like, trying to get to your wedding and flat tire. Man.
Christine Anderson 3745. We had to fly home early from our transatlantic cruise in 2010 due to a volcanic eruption.
What?
It was only one day early, but sad for us. We saw Barcelona for a few very short hours. First world problems, I realize.
There's a volcanic eruption.
Why are you home so early, Bob? Oh, because there's a volcano that erupted. That's nuts.
Man. Okay, Carolyn K9856 said, I remember going camping in SD, is that San Diego?
Yeah.
Okay. And our tent flooding with 2 inches of water. Oh.
Okay, tent camping's already
rough, man. You get 2 inches of water in there. Oh my goodness. All your stuff.
Oh my gosh. That's so bad. There's a lot of people that have said canceled flights. Honestly, this is why, like, when we do cruises or whatever, we try to get out at least a day before. What about John said, I left my mother-in-law while in a wheelchair getting drenched by a geyser.
No. You left her. Has she ever forgiven you?
Wow, in parentheses. I picture her, like, I picture her underneath Old Faithful, just like. And I picture John just like getting some Cheetos in the nearby convenience store. And he looks out the window, just sees her.
Whoops.
Oh man.
Oh
gosh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh. Rachel Chariello said, I rear-ended a car on Maui and totaled the rental car. The tow truck cost $1,200.
Oh, that's a lot of money for a tow truck.
When I rent a car, I'm always scared about that. I'm always scared, like, what if we get in an accident?
I know.
Like, it's always those things,
We usually get the insurance, I feel like.
Yeah, our credit card does.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway,
that is.
But yeah. But remember when we were in Disneyland, we're renting a car. The van. If you guys watched that video, we were in that stupid van. Anyway, it's a whole other story. We're promised a different car. Anyway, we'll talk about it. But the reason why it took so long to get our car is because the person in front of us, they just got in an accident.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going through all the paperwork for that and whatever.
I remember that.
And we're just like, oh no.
Please no.
Oh man. I'm still thinking about the geyser.
The geyser.
Oh no.
All right, I got one. Chelsea Reviews 300. We live in California and we're taking a road trip with our travel trailer to Yellowstone with our 2 little boys. We were 45 minutes from Yellowstone, and they began evacuating the park due to landslides.
Oh, man.
This was in 2022. The park was closed for a week, so we had to completely rework our trip, cancel multiple reservations. It was rough. We ended up driving to Montana and hit Glacier National Park and then hit Yellowstone once they reopened for 2 days on our way back to California. Oh, bummer. Those are the things where you're just like, now what? You know what I mean? Where you're probably just like sitting in there and you're like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
what's next?
That was our plan and we cannot go there anymore and due to landslides. And it's stuff like that where it's like, there's nobody to blame. You can't control that stuff. No. Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh. This is why we did this podcast. She inspired us to do this podcast. She said, whoa, where to begin? And then Allie, her daughter, who she also inspired, she said, how many stories do you want from us? They have a lot of, I feel like every time they travel, like they were just traveling. They were just traveling on Lauren's Instagram. Yeah. I saw that she was sick, and I DM'd her. I'm like, what's happening? And she's like, I know. I know. Every time. Oh my gosh. Mrs. Jen Ryan said, got a sinus infection on a cruise, and they had to get an antibiotic. They refunded my drink package since I shouldn't drink, so use the money at the spa instead.
There you go.
You know what? You have a sinus infection. You go in the spa, get that steam,
right?
Get it out. I mean, it worked out. It worked out. I've had sinus infections on a cruise before as well, and it's the worst.
Awful.
And I've done the same thing where I go into the spa and just go in the sauna or whatever. Like, it feels amazing. But man, what a bummer.
Okay, Heather Mary Hernandez said, visited Disney World in August years ago. On our second day, had to leave due to a hurricane.
Oh, no.
I mean, I've seen some videos on Instagram of Disney World when those hit. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, man. Especially when those people like right here, you know, you've got your vacation and you're like, well, not gonna have a zippity-doo-dah day today. Ugh. What a bummer.
It's just a bummer because, like, you take all the time off, you get all the schedules lined. You know, you've been saving for these vacations, preparing for them, and then it's like, oh, we can't go. Like, we're going home. Like, man. It's just a bummer.
Okay, we got a long one from Sierra Shelect 7284.
Story time.
Ready?
Let's do this thing.
Get your coffee ready. You guys asked for vacations gone wrong, and I couldn't send it in a DM. So here you go. Let me preface the story by saying I think I was about 14. And at age 27 now, I remember this like it was yesterday.
Oh, man.
Whew, here we go. That's how you know it's a good one. My mom, grandmother, and I have traveled to Disney World many times, and this was one of our only coming home sagas we've experienced. Ooh, it's Disney World. Love it. We live in Cleveland, and we were coming home from Disney, flying home on a connecting flight. This specific trip had a connecting flight in Missouri. Our flight out of Orlando was delayed by hours. I'm talking 5+ hours. How many times is a 14-year-old supposed to walk by an Auntie Anne's and not get a pretzel every time? Oh, yeah, that was true. So we get on our flight from Orlando to Missouri. We get to Missouri to find out, you guessed it, the plane left without us.
Oh, no.
Because our first flight had been so delayed. At this point, it's about 9:30 p.m., and my mom is chatting with the flight desk people about what is going to happen. The airline ended up putting us up at a hotel nearby, but lets us know we'll have to be back at the airport at 3 a.m. to catch the first flight out to Cleveland.
What?
And they plopped us on. We were also given a food voucher to use at the hotel for dinner. Now buckle up because this is where it gets good.
Oh my gosh.
We get on this complimentary shuttle that has multiple other families on it. The shuttle is stopping at a hotel prior to the one we were at, and all baggage is below like good old Magical Express. The shuttle makes the first stop. People get off, grab their luggage, and go on their merry way.
Oh, no.
We get to our hotel, grab our luggage, and get all situated in the hotel, dropping off our luggage off in our room before going down to the bar to get random appetizers and waters. Thanks for the food vouchers. We get back to our room to get ready to get what we hope is a good night's sleep before having to wake up at witching hour. And to my wonderful little 14-year-old surprise, the belongings in my suitcase were not mine.
Oh, no.
You guessed it. The lady that happened to get off at the hotel before us must have had the same luggage as I did. There I was, a 14-year-old teenager staring at a suitcase.
Wait, this was the next day that they found this out?
No, that night.
Okay, still. Okay.
Staring at a suitcase full of much more extravagant clothing than my Target brand camouflage Bermudas and basic t-shirts. And yes, some clothing items that clearly did not belong to a 14-year-old girl. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Long story short, our hotel called the other hotel, called us a shuttle to take us to the other hotel, allowed us to switch the luggage with the lady, who was really cranky towards me, mind you. Like, do you not check your name tag on your luggage? Did you not see the camouflage Bermudas in that suitcase? And then take us back to our hotel. Sorry for the length of the story, but that, ladies and gents, is the story about how we got stuck in Missouri, or as we call it, a night in misery.
Oh my gosh.
That's awful. Awesome. Oh my goodness.
It reminds me. Awesomely awful. You know what I mean? But like, I love how the lady's cranky. Is like, dude, you have it back,
right?
Like, chill.
Yeah, but it reminds me of like planes, trains, and automobiles.
Oh,
it's just like one of those things where like flights canceled, miss your next flight, lose your luggage. You know, luggage somebody else takes. Have to take a shuttle, go over there. You guys were probably so exhausted. How funny.
What I want to know is, whenever you walk by an Auntie Anne's, do you think of that story? Does that just bring it back? You know what I mean? Oh my gosh. That's good. That's a good one.
Thank you for taking the time to write all that out. Seriously. And all of your description was so good. Oh, that was great.
It's a good story. I think that's where we should end. I think there's a lot of others, but I think this is a lot longer than our usual podcast.
Yes.
Man, thank you guys so much for this is great. I'm sure we can probably do this podcast over again because as you travel, some things happen. But there's just some things that you can't control.
Yeah.
But we've learned in travel the best way is just to kind of roll with the punches, and usually those turn into our memorable vacations.
Right.
And sometimes when they're not like super bad, they actually turn into like a fun adventure that we never would have experienced if it wasn't for something not going according to plan.
Right.
Obviously, Landon's finger situation, that was just horrible. And there's just some where you'd have to just pack up and go home and call it a vacation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's just some of those where it's just like, unfortunately, ugh.
Right, exactly.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, from kids getting ear infections to fingers falling off to poopy diapers to, well, actually, no, poopy pants because he wasn't in diapers.
Losing passports, getting stuck in Israel.
Oh, man. Oh, by the way, talking about a horrible way back home, like flight, when I was getting back from Israel, there was a whole storyline. I remember going on Instagram and talking about my journey, and like, it was crazy. I remember like just talking about the story of getting back to the States, and there was a lot going wrong too. There was a lot going wrong, and it was fun communicating to you guys back home because everyone was like really like excited about the journey.
I was actually teaching at the time, and one of my friends, she like kept coming up to me. She's like, "I'm on the edge of my seat. Like every break, the kids at recess checking my phone to see what happened next to your husband." I'm like, glad you're enjoying this.
It was like a movie, like. It was insane. Anyway,
oh man!
Wow, guys. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with us today, or this morning, or this evening, or whenever you're watching or listening to this. But again, if you're listening to this on especially Apple Podcasts, and maybe you're not, but if you have Apple Podcasts, head over there, give us a review. We'd really appreciate that. We're trying to do better at our podcast and get more podcasts out. We would love to see how this will grow. And if this is your first time listening to this podcast, again, we appreciate you're here, and also for watching or listening till the very end. But this podcast, we do all kinds of stuff. We talk about parenting stuff, like how to budget, to this, to Disney stuff, to all kinds of stuff. And these flies are trying to kill me. So seriously. They've been driving me nuts this last however long. But guys, thank you. We love you all. And we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.